Hello, and welcome to the April episode of Tambellini Group's Top of Mind podcast. I'm your host, Liz Farrell. This month, we are continuing our conversation with Dr. Feng Hou, a national expert on blockchain technology in higher education. To recap, Dr. Hou serves as Chief Digital Evangelist at Maryville University in St. Louis. In this role, he has led the implementation of a series of blockchain-based initiatives that have already yielded impressive results and tangible ROI to benefit Maryville, both in terms of increased efficiency and an improved experience for faculty, students, and alumni in their interactions with the university. Dr. Hou has already shared with us how blockchain technology has reduced the time and bureaucracy required for students and alumni to request and receive validated transcripts from Maryville. But there are still more compelling examples of ways his institution has reaped the rewards of adopting blockchain. We begin part 2 of this series with a discussion of smart contracts. Can you explain what smart contracts are to the uninitiated in this world of blockchain?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fancy term, right? That they call it.
Yeah.
But some people would say that it's neither smart nor a contract. But however, what smart contract really is just a self-executable code. It's just a small piece of program. And in this program, it will have preset conditions. And, for those of us who are a little bit familiar with the programming languages, and then you set those conditions, and when those conditions are met, and it will trigger off to the next step, whatever that the next step is. To give you one example, that a smart contract may say that when we have, later we can discuss in detail about the student leave of absence request, right? Mm-hmm. And if the student first fill up a form and that the form is complete with all of the required information, and then that triggers a whole review and approval process, and there are multiple parties involved, and then it's pre-identified and set in the smart contract, and then if all of the parties involved have reviewed and approved, and then it triggers to have a process response back to the student to say this has been approved, right? So in that sense, it is not that different from a normal workflow to help automate that process. But however, what the value the smart contract can add is then that number one, that obviously you can verify the whole process of making sure that it's tamper-proof and that there's no kind of manipulation that has happened. And number two, that there's a unique feature which is called a timestamp. And if you follow the timestamp, and then with another feature, which is to provide transparency, so you know exactly where the process is. So you follow the timestamp when each of the reviewer and approver, they have received this request, where they are, and then they can also provide some kind of input back as a reviewing result, and either they need some further information from the student, or they have approved. And all that provides that kind of transparency and also the accountability. So for the students, that this smart contract help automate that service, but in itself, it's also address a real kind of student service needs.
Yeah, and that's a great description, I think, because it leads itself very well into how these are used, like the student payment plan. And I always think of too, like, it's like when you're buying a house, you've got to get that original title. You think of all the documents, everyone who goes through it is just like, they're just so glad it's done. And they have to run around. And I've heard a lot about the potential for this in real estate, in expediting things, all these original documents that have to be verified. If you can automate that and everyone just knows, okay, this is here, and it triggers the next thing, as you say, they're automated. Tell us about the semester payment plan. what the situation was, lay the groundwork for the problem, and how the smart contracts help with that. Because this is another, I think, amazing benefit to students. Financing education is such a pain point, and all the paperwork, even after you figured that all out and how you're going to afford it, is still such a hurdle. So
Absolutely. And also two quick things I want to just add here. One is that remember that this is our kind of like a North Star, trying to make student lives outside of a classroom as easy as possible, right?
right.
We talked about a 5-second on-demand transcript. Eventually, that transcript into a nothing. So it doesn't have to be a theme that students will say, oh, I have to do this, and because they know now that they can just get it right over there readily, 5 seconds. And the same kind of thing apply to here. Then when we first started this journey, we went to the student services area. We went to the work with the finance, work with the academic area, and trying to identify what are some of the really the business processes that would have the most kind of pain points, right? And it takes a long time to do. So student semester payment plan was one of them. And it involves a multiple party. It's a financial plan. It involves money. And then, so it used to be weeks, if not a longer process. And then you have to work with the student in person or manually to process those things. And there are the major issues that have identified, and also given that particularly when the students, if they have any kind of a delinquent account, they owe the university any money, or they may have some other issues that would create certain kind of holes, and then it can really provide create some kind of challenges for students when they need to get some official record from, such as a transcript. So
yeah, and just if I can interject there, I mean, and that's something like when you say a hold, like what we're talking about there is a very real situation at a lot of institutions where they're held hostage until they can figure out, resolve some payment thing. And that may be like, you can't register for courses, you can't do other things. Those are the pain points we know where students leave and they give up and they feel like an institution doesn't care.
Well, yeah, and of course, that's pretty, of course, as part of the, when we're talking about the blockchain university, and there is a kind of more, global or, more strategic goals that we're also trying to achieve, which is trying to make really higher education more accessible, more affordable, and more equitable. And if we can help students, and particularly if a student cannot afford to make all the payments, and then how about we help them to create a payment plan? And there are actually national studies showing that, to offer that the student payment plan as an option would help also increase the student retention, because exactly what you said, that if there's a hold, the student cannot register for new courses. And then, so in this case, that the Maryville does offer that, payment plan, and it's just that it was time consuming. And then with this particular smart contract solution, then we identify some of the key, steps. And this is, again, working with the student finance and student services group, and for them to help identify, first of all, a business process map, and what are the steps that's needed, and also identify what are some of the key kind of interaction points, that the human touch points that would be required still. And so then automate the rest of it, and to help students to really making this as easy for them as possible, and then with a relatively smaller amount of payment to begin with, and then to help them then to lift those financial related holes immediately, ASAP.
Yeah, and again, like this is something another happy story here. If we're talking those tangible benefits of numbers and ROI, 66% ROI because of net profit made on this. Not just like, oh, we've spent all this money and we've broken even. Like this has saved the institution money. I mean, you're talking about retention, which is everyone's biggest thing. The idea that blockchain can help with retention, I think is just so far conceptually from how people understand it, and that's a reason why I was really compelled to have you share this example. And you're the first institution to successfully have used smart contracts to automate and transform these student services too, which is very cool. And so let's talk about there's another side at the institution which we know often gets frustrated, and that can be faculty and administrators and other people who have a lot of bureaucracy to deal with on their own when it comes to their employment contracts, adjuncts. And so there's some great uses, and another one where your institution is a first, which is the smart contracts for faculty. Can you talk about like I mean, I was just shocked at the volume of contracts that you have to deal with. We know institutions are having a lot more adjunct faculty. I guess I just hadn't thought about from a logistics standpoint, well, how many part-time or contract employees do you have? Like, what are you doing on that side with smart contracts, and what has been the faculty reaction to that?
Oh, this is another story that I'm mostly proud that that I have helped to implement it. It's a smart contract to automate the faculty and adjunct faculty contract issue in the management process. And as a matter of fact, that just a few months ago, Maryville University President Dr. Lombardi and held a meeting and with a group of key leaders and talking about this, the impact. And then used to be a couple of times, at least in a year, when the academic offices, including the provost office, dean's office, and they're just rushed trying to get all these contracts out, right? I mean, and making sure that they have confirmed the contract coming in, and they have to kind of track them down, then chase after, and making sure that those adjunct faculty got a chance to review the contract and then approve it, co-sign it, and then send it back either as a PDF format, via email, or hand delivered. And so you can just imagine that process. And this is not just a process that's this is not unique at Maryville University, for sure. And the entire higher education is doing that. It's just then that I'm so grateful that our academic area took this issue to say, if we can apply a blockchain smart contract solution to help automate it, and then so the impact, if I may, I will get into the details of that. The impact is that in the Maryville President Dr. Lombardi's own words, then this from used to be a whole office, multiple offices, and got tied up for several days, if not weeks, the process literally into nothing. And today, if you go and visit the Maryville's, we started from one school, from the business school, and then immediately, and the College of Arts and Sciences, and jumped in to say we wanted it, and then by now that every Maryville schools and the colleges is using this solution right now, because they improve the accountability, right, 100%, and certainly improve the speed, the time it would take. As I mentioned in our case study in an ROI, and on average, that within the first 24 hours, over 62% of those faculty, adjunct faculty, would have already returned their co-signed, approved the contract, and then And of course, we have our own process and how long this is going to take by the end. And then we have a very little, less than 1% of the contract would get expired, meaning then the recipient never responded. But we automatically send out the reminders, and then as it getting close to the end, and offer 100% accountability. So our administrators know exactly, how many and who have responded. And this is also very important because all of the data that will be ready to report later for either the audit purposes or for accreditation purpose, and then it also helps improve the contact management solution. And in the past, maybe each school or college may have their own kind of maintain their own contact list. That they may still do that, but however, and all of the contacts now they can have are on the blockchain, and they can maintain those records and save it securely. And as for the impact, right, we talked about the tangible and the intangible. And I have heard back from so many faculty members that they literally just saying this is the best solution they have ever used, a software solution, because many adjunct faculties, so they're struggling, juggling between different jobs and lives, right? And anything that can help them, again, save their precious time. And because by this, they already know, and they already review, and then they just click on accept, and then an email immediately respond to say, okay, thank you for accepting. This is your co-sign the document. That's it. Turn it into literally a 2-click solution. And so I'm very proud of that, and because our academic service area and have identified this particular manual process, and for us to develop this use cases, and of course we can get into the ROI. So this is one case actually. We already, based on all the numbers, and we already kind of achieved the ROI within the first year. So that's very significant.
Yeah, and just again highlighting some of the really cool, significant things here that stood out to me were the faculty response. We know another barrier usually with new technology is, well, getting people to use it because they're so stuck in their old ways. But it's just, you make it so easy that there's not something where they have to understand the back end, the blockchain is a ledger and everything else. It's just more, hey, this is awesome. Like, how often does that happen when you try to make a sea change in process? ROI too of 101%. This was something where there was, again, a net profit on it, which is really, really, really cool. So with those in mind, before we get to, I want to go back to, it's not all rainbows and sunshine when it comes to what you need in place to make this happen, but let's talk a little bit what's next for Maryville, because then we get to this third leg of the stool on NFTs and tokenizing. And again, I think it would probably be helpful because, as you said, we both know NFTs are talked about a lot, but people's understanding of them, if you can level set on that and then go into more specifically what Maryville has in mind for tokenizing and where you're at on those.
Yeah, certainly. As I mentioned, that on our roadmap that we created the 3 kind of stages to achieve this blockchain university vision that the Maryville president has set. So we have completed our stage 1, and we're well on our way to achieve our the stage 2 goals. And just simply because there were just so many business processes, and certainly we will continue working on as many and as fast as we can. And again, this is not about just to something that we can brag about the blockchain. This is really aimed at how can we improve our student experience, and how can we improve the institutional efficiency, and then helping cut down the cost. And as a matter of fact, that Maryville also has set a goal to reduce the student tuition by 20% and within the next couple of years. And so this can help us to make our job more efficient and to better serve our student needs. So in that regard, then that we're continuing building the smart contract to automate those business processes. And as for the stage 3, tokenized education, and this is a really the real value of blockchain, that if we can help transform education, right? And there are movements to modularize learning, to create the micro-credentialing, and there are also demand from the employers about the skills-based training, and so on and so forth. And tokens can represent anything, certainly a class unit, a learning unit, and then to help later based on some standard framework to create that stackable kind of credentials, and then to help students create a smart pathway to achieve their academic successes. And so it can also help break the learning unit down into smaller pieces. It's kind of a smaller bite size, so to speak, right? And then so to help those adult learners and the lifelong learners, and so they are juggling with their jobs and the lives, and we want the learning to be really beneficial to them, but it doesn't have to take a significant amount of time or financial commitment. And then so Maryville's been really, this is not my work, but however, has done some great work in building this partnership with the industries and with national, regional, local, different organizations to help build that kind of a workforce development. And we're also working with them, trying to see how we can tokenize those trainings as well. So these are the work that we're currently doing. But as you mentioned, that it's not all rainbows, right? And there are definitely valuable lessons that we have learned. And one of the lessons that to me personally is then that you really want to make sure that this is the student services and customer service and needs driven, right? That's actually the first criteria I listed. That's because the lesson, and don't promote the blockchain just for blockchain's sake, right?
Right.
That the business leaders, they really have to buy in, and they're driving it. And blockchain technologies just happen to be the right tool. And another thing that I learned also is that do not kind of impose or insist that it has to be blockchain, right? There may be other solutions that the university is currently using, but however, the goal, the North Star, is not about what technology we would use, but the goal is really how we can really dramatically improve student services and change student experience for us.
Yeah, you had said to me, blockchain technology can't turn a bad idea into a good one, and I think that's true for so many applications of technology. You can't fix a problem with the magical easy button. You have to change the people and processes behind it. Otherwise, we'll often be disappointed, quite frankly, when it doesn't realize the value that it does in an ideal situation with perfect fidelity of implementation. On that note, you had shared with me the 7 selection criteria. You've mentioned like don't use blockchain for the sake of technology. Um, and defining the community of stakeholders and soliciting their participation. You have this other thing, though, and this is where I think a lot of people get tripped up no matter what they're trying to do when they're modernizing. Optimize business processes first with a clear governance structure. That is where it gets really tricky. Can you talk a bit more about this? Because we had also, just to lay the groundwork a little bit more, when I had talked with you about this, I was saying, do you need these, modern cloud-based infrastructure across the whole institution for this even to be a possibility? And I was surprised when you said no. So can you talk about how you get to that optimization of business processes and clear data governance, even when you don't have that? Like you had talked about being able to, working with, for instance, Lucene and Banner and other providers of these big, whether it's student information systems or ERP, that it's possible. So can you tell us a bit more about the prerequisite there and why it is possible without having, as your president says, having perfect be the enemy of good?
Absolutely. And actually the 7 criteria was a few years ago when I was just about transitioning from CNM to Maryville University. And then University Business Magazine approached me to say, they were publishing an article about me and then asked me to write something. And then I said, I just like to share what I have learned, right? So I put together 7 criteria for selecting the right blockchain project or initiative, and then you just mentioned a few. And it is really very, very important that this is the customer service needs driven and not technology. And also, it is also very important, as I mentioned earlier, that making sure that we optimize the business processes, and these are the things that we can do, and that's what at Maryville University we're doing. And then we gather a group of people together and trying to see what is, and then sometimes we even get a president involved to say, in order to improve student experience and then making this service much faster, do we really have to take this step? And then the president may say, yay or nay, right? To say, no, we don't need this step. And then, of course, sometimes we do get the legal review involved to take care of it. But however, again, here, I want to just cannot emphasize more enough about this is the university student services needs, centric, and customer service needs centric. So with regard to the governance structure, and this is also very interesting, and I just want to clarify to make sure that because a blockchain solution such as a smart contract, it runs on the blockchain, and of course it can be a public chain, private chain, a hybrid, or a consortium that we can get into that kind of detail if necessary. But however, the point is that the smart contract itself runs on the blockchain, and it really creates a situation. As a matter of fact, that I've been asked about that question all the time, is that what is the governance and who actually own this particular process or smart contract, right? So today at Maryville, and then for the student transcript, actually it's the student record office. They own that particular process. And then for the faculty contract, it's actually our academic service area owns that, because people want to define that does it have to be owned by IT or what kind of support? And IT is critical for sure. And I don't want to in a way diminish IT's significant role. But however, what I'm saying is that the blockchain technology creates this kind of a consistent and a reliable kind of operations, and then so far, our experience has been it requires really very little, support from IT, for this smart contract applications or use cases that we have developed so far. And with regard to the cloud structure and the ERP solutions, these are still very, very critical because those are the record holders.
Right.
And I just want to clarify here that the blockchain and should not, any kind of a blockchain implementation and should never really make a copy of the student data and house it on some kind of a services on-site server, either on blockchain or not. And particularly in those centralized database and needs to stay with the ERP solution, because in this case, a blockchain solution only needs to get whatever is necessary, the data from those ERP solutions or SIS solutions to create that particular, verifiable document, and then that the document should not be retained or kept intact anywhere else.
Right.
In other words, then in our implementation, either the faculty contract or student transcript, and they're not stored as a PDF document on the blockchain or off the blockchain, or it's being stored securely in a distributed manner, decentralized, so encrypted. So in other words, then even a hacker is able to hack into any system and to get that piece of data. It would be even just like it's not like a Feng Hou, or it's just a letter F or a letter G or a letter O, and that really does not make any sense without having to be able to go through that very secured kind of a encryption process to get the document back, and also relies on this hash link, which is a kind of another way of protecting the privacy and the security of the data. So I just want to take some time to clarify that. And
that's very important. I'm glad you did.
yeah, because if any other solution to say, oh, blockchain, we grab this data from say Illusion's banner or colleague, and then create some kind of document, either put it on the blockchain, that's never advisable, because public blockchain, all transactions are public, and then people may say, oh, we can store them off the chain. But off the chain, if you stored it as long as a single document, as some solutions say, for example, they may say, okay, you can download it and put it on some mobile device or some other areas, but that document still stays intact as one document, and then opportunities for the hackers to hack in and steal that document. So just want to clarify.
Yeah, no, that's very important. I mean, I think some of the other things you mentioned here are ones we've already touched upon, but being value driven, seeking a solution with security, privacy, speed, and lower costs, and also being value driven in terms of being mission based. Like, as you say, it all comes back to what's going to benefit the student, what's going to benefit the faculty, what's going to benefit the mission within that. And you had also mentioned your institution and work with a blockchain partner. Sometimes you've got to go outside and learn from what's already been done instead of trying to reinvent the wheel. So you can leapfrog over some of those early steps, and those are great. So you've made a very strong case for the benefits of blockchain and how the barriers to entry are actually lower than many may initially assume. So when you look beyond the institutions you've worked with and the ones who are excited about blockchain and forging ahead as early adopters, I had asked you this question. I was very interested in your answer to this because I had asked, how long do you think it will actually take for these applications to reach critical mass at colleges and universities? And I think your first answer had been, you can't give an exact timeline, right? So,
wish I have the one.
yeah.
That,
But you had also talked about, and I'd love to hear you share this with our listeners about, the patterns that adoption of any technology goes through. So can you tell them a little bit about that? I think that would be a great way for us to close out our conversation today.
yeah, certainly. Many of your audiences probably are familiar with Gartner's kind of this hype cycle, and then how new technology and started moving up to hype and comes down to the drop, and then eventually normalize and to be adopted. And I think that we are going through a similar kind of pattern process like that. And but however, the very encouraging news is that, as I mentioned earlier, that at the national level, organizations such as NSF, ACE, and the Chamber of Commerce, and then Blockchain Chamber of Commerce, all the other organizations are paying very much attention, and also statewide, right? And you mentioned also that even just during this past Super Bowl game,
Right.
how many commercials are played out. Those are very, very expensive commercials, right? It costs $5-6 million, if not more, for just a 30 seconds commercial, and they're advertising, some, of course, of the cryptos, but however, and or metaverse, those are all powered by blockchain. And so that all helped to bring up this kind of awareness. And so for us, we can only hope, I can only hope that through the effort that we're making here at the Maryville University, and I'm also very encouraged to see that at the National Science Foundation's virtual meeting, there are so many other universities in the industries and tech startup companies and the ed tech companies, right? They are trying to transform education and by leveraging, blockchains and specifically smart contract, and then the NFTs and the DAOs, the DeFi, the Web3, and so forth. So if I would have to give a guess, I think that as more and more universities and through even the effort of this interview here, that there are actually use cases being deployed, being used to help students and help improve institutional efficiencies, that there will be more education leaders interested and wanted to start implementing the blockchain solutions at their own institutions. If I would give it a guess, and I'm hopeful, then I think within 3, hopefully no more than 5 years, and you're going to see a major kind of a takeoff of the blockchain solutions at higher education institutions.
Which is, it seems like such a short time in the grand scheme of things. You had also said, and I love this, that you're not showing them how the blockchain mechanism is, like what a blockchain mechanism is, and describing this as a digital ledger and getting down into like the Garden of Eden, the creation story of blockchain. You're just saying this is what it does, and this is what we want it to do. And
again, sorry.
No, go ahead.
And again, we talked about, say, for example, when we talk about a 5-second on-demand student transcript, right? I mean, that's not regardless either blockchain or whatever, would anyone want to help their students to get the transcript faster and in a secure and a verifiable way? And then the adjunct faculty contract we talked about. And then I just can't imagine any institution, education leaders who would say, oh, we'd love to have those manual process and then to spend the weeks and instead of this is automated and then provide that kind of accountability. So I'm pretty sure that more and more use cases will be built that will present convincingly that the real value of blockchain solutions.
It's very exciting. There are a lot of things where we look into the future and we think, oh my gosh, how how bad is this going to be when we're talking about like the planet or global warming? This is something though that I'm so glad that you took the time to explain to us with all these really fascinating examples, because it's such a case for optimism and for how quickly things can change for the better when there are thoughtful people who are connecting an institution's mission with new technology innovation. So I really, really appreciate your time today, and thank you so much for sharing your insights, your journey professionally, and especially at Maryville with our listeners.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I really, really sincerely wish that more educational leaders and certainly IT leaders get interested. And then I want to thank you and for this great opportunity for me to discuss the blockchain use cases at Maryville University. Appreciate it.
Well, it's been a privilege and a pleasure. And with that, we'll conclude this month's episode of Tambellini's Top of Mind podcast. So don't forget to check out all our other episodes, blogs, and resources at thetambollinigroup.com.